Hello guys and welcome again. This is my video for how expensive is Kyrgyzstan. So Kyrgyzstan is one of those really surprising countries in the world. When you get there you kind of look at the place and you think, well, this isn't going to be cheap, it's going to be quite expensive because it's quite modern, everything's quite new, and then you start to work out how much things are and it's really surprising of how good value it is. I'm going to be honest, it's probably top 5 value in the world of how cheap it is. Even the locals, I was speaking to a guide and he was saying even he thinks that Kyrgyzstan is cheap. You know, like he said, everything. I love living here because everything's cheap. To $1 is 88 som, which is very, very good value. So to put that into perspective, a taxi ride will normally cost you around 100 som, 100 to 200 som. So basically you can ride for about 10 minutes and it's going to cost you $1. So when you're in Bishkek and you just walk up to a taxi and you ask to go a place, say within 10-15 minutes, and you go how much, they're going to just go 200 som. Now that actually to them is quite a lot, but then you go, wow, it's only $2. If you actually haggle it, you'll probably get it for 100 to 150, but it is quite incredible how cheap Kyrgyzstan is. Even at rip-off tourist prices, it's actually only double from a $1 to $2. Some imported stuff is slightly more expensive. I lost one of my deodorant cans and I needed to buy a big like Rexona. Actually, that was $2.50, which it's slightly more expensive than say the UK, but nothing too untoward. It was not bad. So some of the imported stuff is going to be expensive. But you can actually get stuff like Cadbury's chocolate, amazingly, from the UK, and it's not that much more. In restaurants, you're going to be paying between around $2 to $3 per meal. If street food, there is a little bit of street food, you could probably get down to maybe $1.50, but I would aim at $2 to $3 per meal, really depending on what your appetite is. There's not that much foreign food outside Bishkek unless you go to a place like Karakol. So really, most of the local food is around, I say, $2 to $3 per meal with a drink. That's a soft drink, not alcohol. Alcohol is very cheap. It's around $1 to $1.50 for a beer. That was how much I was paying. If you go to the local supermarket and you want a bottle of vodka, you can normally get like a standard size, litre bottle for around $5 to $7. So it is very, very good value. And it's not difficult. Everywhere sells alcohol. They're not going to bother. Even though it is a Muslim country, alcohol is freely sold, which is really surprising. I mean, I don't smoke, but cigarettes are ridiculous cheap, $1 to $2 the way I saw it. Even for a good brand, it's like $2. I always buy fruit when I'm abroad. That was slightly more expensive than I would pay in the UK, but again, under $1 for a bunch of bananas or a bunch of fruit. It wasn't anything too expensive. So transport between towns, whether you take a bus or the minibuses, you're going to be paying between kind of $2 and $5. Say for a 2-3 hour journey. It really isn't a lot of money. You can get about very, very cheaply. The only thing I will say is on the odd occasion, again, it wasn't that expensive. It was maybe $6-7, but there was a couple of times where I wanted to get a shared taxi, but there was no one going that way. I actually paid for a private taxi. I think it was 100 miles and it cost about $7. Again, it still wasn't, it wasn't a crazy amount of money. It really is very, very good value. So in terms of your day-to-day costs, so hotels do vary quite a lot, really. It depends on where you are and what kind of hotel you want. In Bishkek, you can get really, really good value. I was paying only about $10 per night from my own hotel room with air conditioning and all the mod cons. It was slightly out of city, but as I say, because taxis were so cheap, it really didn't matter. You could just jump in a taxi and be in the centre. I would say in general it ranges from say $5 for a dorm, and then if you want your own room it's $8 to around $15 on average for a backpacker. Obviously you can pay more and you get better quality. The only thing that is slightly different in certain places in Kyrgyzstan is some of the hotels who actually say they're hotels or guest houses aren't actually guest houses. they're more like homestays. You actually are staying in someone's house. It's just you rent a room from them. It can be slightly odd. So I was using booking.com, which I would recommend. It was the cheapest place to find hotels and probably the easiest way to book if you don't speak Russian. When you stop in the homestays, you're not going to have total privacy. There was a couple of rooms I stopped in where kind of my room was in the middle of the house and they were just walking back and forth. It was a bit odd, but I got used to it, and you just kind of treat it differently. Treat it like you're living in someone's home, and it's not a hotel room. It is a homestay. So that's the only difference. In them type places, it was more. If it was a homestay and it was within backpacker budget, normally the hotels are going to be a lot more. But again, no more than 15. I was trying to stick to around $10 a night. If you do need to buy anything, you broke something or you need to replace something. Currently, I just broke my mouse for my laptop and I had to replace it, and it cost about $6. So it was really not expensive to replace stuff because China's so close. They do import a lot of stuff that's cheap. So clothes and everything like that, again, are quite cheap. If you need to replace a backpack or buy things for your trekking, it's not that expensive. There are a lot of fake goods like North Face trekking jackets and stuff like that you can get hold of. So the one thing that is slightly more expensive is activities. I'm not going to say it's ridiculously expensive. It's still very good value, but you are going to pay slightly more Western prices for activities. So the example I'm going to give is the horse trekking I did, which was an overnight tour up into the mountains. You stop in a hotel or a yacht, and then you trek back down. That does include all your food and the guides and the horse and everything, and that was around $45. But when you break it down, actually, it's not that expensive because you're not paying for your hotel for a night, so that saves you $10, and no food, so that saves you maybe up to $5 to $10, depending on how you eat. Really, you only had to bring some snacks and some water, and that was really it. In terms of actually over your daily costs, it didn't really kill my daily budget. I still did really well. So for an overall budget per day, without flights or anything, I would say it's around $25 to $30 per day. It depends on how many excursions you do and the trekking and stuff. That could go up to around 35, and obviously how long you stay. The longer you stay, the better your budget's going to be. So for most countries in the world, there are no visa costs. It's actually like Thailand. You just can fly in, visa on arrival. I got 60 days just stamped in straight away, no cost or anything, and that's generally for most Western countries. I think it's around 60 countries altogether. So obviously double check wherever you're coming from, but in general you don't have to pay at all, so that does save a lot of money. Okay guys, that concludes my video of how expensive Kyrgyzstan is. I hope you enjoyed it. Please remember to subscribe and hit that notification button, and I'll see you next time.